Hi, my name is Nur Arjuna binti Alias and my metric number is 284365. So right now I'm going to brief a bit about the Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad background. Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad or EFB manufactures and distributes engineered wood products. The company designs and develops medium density fiberboard and particle boards. EFB also offers furniture products and it operates manufacturing facilities in Malaysia, Thailand and also Indonesia. Lastly, EFB is headquartered in Parit, Raja, Johor, Malaysia.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Lufil Hadi bin Muhammad Shukri with metric number 288730. Today I will present the background of MNRB Holdings Berhad. This company started operation in 19 February 1973. This company investment that is principally engaged in the provision of management service to its subsidiaries. The company segments include investment holding, the insurance business, takaful operator and retakaful operator.
Taksin Holdings Berhad was founded in 1987. PHB was incorporated in Malaysia under the Companies Act 2016 on 26 of August 1982 as a private limited liability company under the name of Amalgamated Cement Mill Sendirian Berhad, and was converted to a public limited liability company under the name of Amalgamated Containers Berhad on 17 of August 1992. It was listed on the main market of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad and on 28 of October 1993 and assumed its present name on 19 of September 2007.
Hello, my name is Punesaran Ramamurthy. My metric number is 288400. I'm going to talk about the background company of Malaysia Resources Corporation Berhad. It is a construction and property development company based in Kuala Lumpur. MRCB aims to provide vibrant and sustainable TODs and high quality infrastructure that fulfills the nation's needs and expectations. MRCB was established in 1968 as Perak Carbide Corporation Sendirian Berhad.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Mukri bin Arif and my metric number is 288578. I will explain about the IOI Corporation Berhad company's background. The business activity of the IOI Corporation Berhad include investment holding, oil palm agriculture and oil palm processing. The business is divided into 5 segments, which it is plantation, property development, property investment, resource-based manufacturing and other operations. IOI was founded in 1969 and based in Putrajaya.
As you can see here, the disclosure of MFRS 108 for Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad is separate financial statements.
For disclosure of MFRS 108 for MNRB Holdings Berhad, at the beginning of the financial year, the group and the company had adopted the MFRS applicable for annual financial period beginning on or after 1 January 2020.
The accounting policies adopted are consistent with those of the previous financial year except as follows. On 1st of July 2020, the group and the company adopted the following new and amended MFRS and issues committee interpretation mandatory for annual financial periods beginning on or after 2020 for the MFRS 108.
This company disclosure MFRS 108 will clarify that effect of a change in input or measurement technique used to develop an accounting estimate is a change in accounting estimate. If they do not arise from prior period errors, an entity shall apply amendments to change in accounting estimates and changes in accounting policies that occur on or after the beginning of the first annual reporting period, which it applies the amendments.
For the disclosure of MFRS 108 of IOI Corporation Berhad, the group defines significant increase in credit risk for financial assets by comparing the risk of default occurring over the expected life with the risk of the default since initial recognition.
Next, the disclosure of MFRS 110 by Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad is significant events during and subsequent to the end of the financial year. On 6 November 2020, the company had acquired additional 40,210 ordinary shares, representing additional 48.99% equity interest in PT Hijau Lestari Raya Fiberboard for a total consideration of $8 million.
Disclosure of MFRS 110 for MNRB Holdings Berhad. The group and the company was not excluded from such measure and had taken a number of steps to monitor and prevent the effect of the COVID-19 virus within the group and the company, primarily by imposing social distancing, work from home, arrangement for the employee, as well as strictly adhering to all regulations and guidelines for issue by the authorities.
For disclosure of MFRS 110 of IOI Corporation Berhad, on 12 September 2017, the company has entered into share purchase agreement with Bangi for the disposal of its 70% equity interest held in Lourdes Crocken Group BV. Bangi made purported direct claims against the company, alleging that the company had breached certain warranties under share purchase agreement.
Next, for the MFRS 116 checklist, which is property, plant and equipment, Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad disclosed the number of expenditures recognized in the carrying amount of an item of property, plant and equipment in the cost of its constructions. And the other one is the amount of compensation from third parties for items of property, plant and equipment that were impaired, lost or given up that is included in profit or loss. So the total of compliance is 2 out of 5 requirements, and the percentage of compliance is 40%. For MFRS 136 checklist, which is impairment of asset, Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad disclosed the recoverable amount of the asset, cash generating unit, and whether the recoverable amount of the asset is its fair value less cost of disposal or its value in use. And the other one is the number of reversals of impairment losses or revalued asset recognized in other comprehensive income during the period. So the total compliance is 2 out of 4 requirements, and the percentage of compliance is 50%.
MFRS 116 checklist for MNRB Holdings Berhad. The assets classified as held for sale or include in a disposal group classified as held for sale in accordance with MFRS 5 in other disposal and acquisition through business combination. The total compliance is 7/12. The percentage of compliance is 58.33%. For MFRS 136 checklist for MNRB Holdings Berhad, the event and the circumstance that lead to the recognition of reversal of the impairment loss, the amount of the impairment loss recognized or reversed. The total compliance is 5/10, and the percentage of compliance is 50%.
These are the checklists for MFRS 116, property, plant and equipment. And these are the checklists for MFRS 136, impairment of asset.
This is the checklist for MFRS 116 for company MRCB. The company has measurement bases used for determining the gross carrying amount, the depreciation method used, the useful lives or the depreciation rates used, the gross carrying amount and the accumulated depreciation at the beginning and end of the period has been used. And in addition, assets classified held for sale or included in a disposal group classified as held for sale in accordance with FRS 5 and other disposals. The total compliance for this is 5 out of total requirement, which is 12. The percentage of compliance is 41.67%. This is another checklist for MFRS 136 for company MRCB. This company has the event and circumstances that lead to the recognition or reversal of the impairment loss, the amount of the impairment loss recognized or reversed, as also describe the nature of the asset for an individual asset. This company also has a description of the cash generating unit. The company shows whether the recoverable amount of the asset is its fair value less cost to sell or its fair value in use. The total compliance is 5 out of the total requirements, which is 10. The percentage of the compliance is 50%.
For checklist of Mfrs 116 property plant and equipment for IOI Corporation Berhad, the company has the measurement base used for determine the gross carrying amount, depreciation method used, the useful life of depreciation rate used, recognition of the carrying amount, and the net exchange difference arising on the transaction of the financial statement. Total compliance is 8 out of 12 requirement, and the percentage is 66.67%. Next, for the checklist of disclosure, Mfrs 136 impairment of assets for IOI Corporation Berhad has disclosed such as the amount of the impairment loss recognized and reserved, a description of cash generated unit, whether the recoverable amount of the asset is fair value less cost to sell or is value in use. The compliance is 7 out of 10 and the percentage of compliance is 70%.
The key audit matter for Evergreen Fiberboard Berhad is biological assets. The group has a significant balance of biological assets amounting to 39,100,000 as at 31st December 2021. The biological assets comprise tropical wood trees and rubber trees. The biological assets of the group are required to be measured at fair value, less cost to sell in accordance with Mfrs 141 biological asset. One of their audit procedures is comparing the key inputs to the model, including commodity prices and yield against market data.
Key audit matters for MNRB Holdings Berhad is tax recovery of the group. In the financial statement, the group is currently appealing against additional tax assessment and penalties raised by the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia, amounting to approximately 2.9 million ringgit and 19.7 million ringgit respectively. As part of their audit procedure, they have reviewed correspondence between the group and external legal counsel to obtain an understanding of the matters.
Key audit matters are those matters that, in the professional judgment, were of most significance in the audit of the financial statements of the group and of the company for the current financial period. These matters were addressed in the context of the audit of the financial statements of the group and of the company as a whole, and in forming the opinion thereon, Parkson Holdings Berhad do not provide a separate opinions on these matters.
Key audit matters for MRCB company is, during the financial year, the company recorded impairment losses of RM13,790,000 and 5,158,000 respectively on trade and other is receivable, including amount due from subsidiaries and contract assets. The group and the company assess the expected credit loss associated with the trade receivable and contract assets use the simplified approach.
For the key audit matters for IOI Corporation Berhad is impairment assessment of the carrying amount of goodwill. Management has considered the plantation and resource-based manufacturing as the operating segment of the group, with carrying amount of goodwill of RM126.5 million and RM209.7 million respectively. The company determined this to be the key audit matter because it requires significant judgments and estimate about the future result and key assumption applied to cash flow projection of the CUs in determining the recoverable amount. The audit procedure is compare prior period projection to actual outcomes to assess reliability of management forecasting process.
Under the liquidity financial performance, we have three ratios, which is current ratio, quick ratio, and also cash ratio. So for Evergreen Fiber Berhad current ratio in 2020 is 1.40 and in 2021 is 1.63. For quick ratio in 2020 is 0.74 and in 2021 is 0.86. Lastly, for cash ratio in 2020 is 0.39 and in 2021 is 0.35. Next, under profitability, we have return on asset, gross margin, and also net profit margin. For return on asset, Evergreen Fiber Berhad in 2020 is 0.075 and in 2021 is 0.011. For gross margin, in 2020 is 0.16 and in 2021 is 0.21. And lastly, for the net profit margin in 2020 is 15.1% and in 2021 is 2.15%. For solvency, we have debt to assets ratio, interest coverage ratio, and also debt to equity ratio. For Evergreen Fiber Berhad, debt to asset ratio in 2020 is 17.1%, in 2021 is 30.7%. Interest cover ratio in 2020 is 13.9 and in 2021 is 6.56. And lastly, for debt to equity ratio in 2020 is 24.3% and in 2021 is 18.8%. The last financial performance that we use for Evergreen Fiber Berhad is market. Under market, we have market to book, earning per share, and also price earnings. For market to book in 2020 is 1.13 and in 2021 is 1.14. For earnings per share in 2020 is 12.15 and in 2021 is 4.06. Lastly, for price earnings in 2020 is 0.04 and in 2021 is 0.12.
Liquidity ratio for MNRB Holdings Berhad for current ratio in 2020 is 8.12 and increasing in 2021 for 8.14, while the quick ratio is same as current ratio because the MNRB Holdings Berhad do not have inventories. Next, for the cash ratio in 2020 is 0.36 and increasing in 2021 0.40. For profitability for MNRB Holdings Berhad, for return on asset in 2020 is 1.44% and increase in 2021 for 1.9%. In return on equity, 2020 is 5.85%, increasing in 2021 is 7.84%. Next, for net profit margin is 7.05% for 2020 and increase for 2021 8.77%. For solvency ratio, for debt to asset ratio in 2020 is 0.27% and decrease in 2021 0.07%. Interest coverage ratio in 2020 0.06 and increase in 2021 0.08. Next, for debt to equity ratio 1.08% for 2020 and decrease in 2021 0.27%. For market ratio, market to book ratio in 2020 is 0.20, increasing in 2021 0.50. Next, for earning per share 1.83 in 2020 and increase in 2021 2.12. Lastly, for price earning for 2020 0.17, increase in 2021 0.32.
For liquidity, all the ratios decreased from 2020 to 2021. For current ratio, the ratio decreased from 0.9 to 0.6, and for the quick ratio, the ratio decreased from 0.7 to 0.5, and for the cash ratio, the ratio decreased from 0.5 to 0.3 for Parsons Holding Berhad. For profitability, the return on asset increased from 0.2 to 0.6, while the gross margin decreased from 0.6 to 0.2, and the net profit margin decreased from 0.3 to 0.2. solvency for debt to asset ratio, it is the same for both 2020 and 2021. And for the interest coverage ratio, it decreased by 1%, and for the debt to equity ratio, it decreased by 0.7%. For market to book, it increased by 0.1%, and for the earnings per share, it increased from 45.8 to 122.3, and for the price earnings, it increased from 3.7 to 6.4%.
For liquidity ratio, the MRCB company has high value in current and quick ratio in 2020 compared to 2021. But for cash ratio, the company has high value in 2021 than 2020. For profitability ratio, MRCB have high value in return on asset, gross margin and net profit margin ratio in 2021 than 2020 due to COVID-19 effect. For solvency ratio, MRCB company has high value in debt to asset ratio, interest coverage ratio and debt to equity ratio in 2021 than 2020. For market ratio, MRCB company has high value in market to book ratio, earning per share ratio and price earning ratio in 2021 than 2020 due to the COVID-19 effect.
For the financial ratios analysis, the liquidity ratio consists of three ratios, which is current ratio, quick ratio and cash ratio. For the current ratio for IOI corporation Berhad in 2020 is 2.66 and had decreased to 1.06 in 2021. For the quick ratio of the company in 2020 is 2.11 and also decreased to 0.8 in the next year. The company cash ratio in 2020 reported 0.42 and decreasing in the next year to 0.11. For the profitability ratio, include three ratios, which is return on asset, gross profit margin and net profit margin. In 2020, IOI Corporation Berhad return on asset ratio is 0.04 and increased to 0.08 in 2021. For the gross profit margin, the company reported 0.21 in 2020 and had slightly decreased to 0.20 in the next year. The company net profit margin in 2020 is 0.08 and has increased to 0.13 in the next year. For the solvency ratio, the ratio that included in this item is debt to asset ratio, interest coverage ratio and debt to equity ratio. In 2020, IOI Corporation Berhad debt to asset ratio is 0.29 and had slightly decreased about 0.01 in 2021. For the interest coverage ratio in 2020, the company reported 7.53 and had increased drastically to 11.56 in the year 2021. The company debt to equity ratio is 0.51 and had decreased to 0.47 in the next year. For the market ratio consists of market to book, earning per share and price earning ratio. In 2020, IOI Corporation Berhad market to book ratio is 0.885 and increased to 0.91 in 2021. The earning per share of the company in 2020 is 4.43 and slightly decreased to 4.45 in the next year. Last but not least, the company's price earning ratio in 2020 is 0.9 and had decreased to 0.85 in the year 2021.